For whatever reason, like when I started feeling my anxiety, at least, like I was like, this isn't normal, like this isn't how college is portrayed to be, this like image of college. And so you're like, oh, something's wrong with me. You start self-diagnosing yourself. You start thinking like, why am I not like functioning properly? Like this is really strange. Like it just doesn't make sense. You just don't feel normal. I mean, that's at least how I feel with my anxiety.
I struggled a lot with health related anxiety. I was always worried about my health, and so my anxious moments lately, you too, that was mine. It was just so weird because you would think, I never thought it would be like that, but anyway,
I know.
So my anxious moments,
here we are.
This is our life.
This is it.
I don't feel the way you guys feel, which is cool because I know not everyone's gonna watch that and feel that kind of anxiety. For me, in relation to what I felt freshman year, that anxiety, it calmed down because I took a moment to go through long seasons of learning the difference between expectations and reality. So I made my peace with that. But just because your life looks like this now is not what the rest of your life is going to look like.
All anxiety, it is a chemical imbalance, but it has triggers and it has roots, and it sprung up when it did at this time in your life for a reason.
I remember my therapist saying, because I would tell her I have all these intrusive thoughts. She was like, you need to start thinking in the gray area more than the black or white. Like, because normally how anxiety is, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna get COVID and die, or I'm not. But there's gray area. You could get COVID and live. You could not have COVID at all.
True.
Like you're going right to one extreme. Exactly. You could have a cold. You could have allergies. You could have an allergic reaction. Like,
and so in maturing as a person, I've realized I want to do everything with God, even if it's me being frustrated, even if it's me having no answer. I just want to still do it with God. How
did I go from feeling chained to anxiety, struggling with anxiety, to someone who maybe still has anxiety but walks free? And first thing I'll say is,
hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am with Sarah and Kaitlyn.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Kaitlyn.
We're your best friends.
And we're your best friends.
And they have a YouTube channel called Your Best Friends, which I'm gonna link below for you guys to check out, because we're gonna do another video over on their channel. So you guys have twice the amount of content.
Yes.
That's right.
We love that. Okay, so before we get into this video, do not forget to subscribe to my channel and check us out on Instagram. I'm gonna put our Instagrams on the screen.
Super cool.
So today we're going to be talking about anxiety in college, because we are college students and we are seniors in college. So we are very well prepared and well versed to be talking about anxiety, I feel like. So we're just gonna go into our general experiences with anxiety and some tips for you guys if you're feeling anxiety, specifically if you're a freshman, and also specifically if COVID in general has really changed college even more than it already is, and you're just looking for some advice about anxiety. So we're going to get started. Do you guys want to go like in like a little
however you want to start? Kaitlyn, how about Kristen, you start?
I'll start.
Kristen, you start. Then Kaitlyn,
the circle.
Okay, I'll start the circle, and okay, cool, let's do it. So let's see, my general experience with anxiety is pretty, I don't want to say stereotypical, because I feel like there are just so many different forms of how anxiety presents itself in college, but I didn't really struggle that much with anxiety my freshman year. If anything, my anxiety really started when I transferred colleges. That was when it like spiked, like the little emoji with the chart spike. That's exactly what my anxiety did. So when I transferred, all of a sudden I was having like racing thoughts all the time. I had so much going on that it was just like constant thinking and overthinking, and just like generalized anxiety of like, what is my major gonna be? Like, what if I go to this new school and I don't meet any people, any like new friends, or I don't do well in classes, I don't get all straight A's, like just every single thing. And it would kind of almost like be like a domino effect. Like one thing would trigger me, and then like everything else that followed would like just set me off. So I kind of just eventually, I worked through it a little bit. I definitely like talked to my mom about it, because my mom was like, what is going on? Like, you've never been this anxious. Like, I've always been a little anxious, but it was almost like all the pressures of college just kind of were like, again, that domino effect of just like, whew. So basically I just kind of like found some ways that worked for me for like what helped my anxiety, which we're gonna go into in a bit when we give you those tips. So that is just my general experience with anxiety and just like a general overview, but we're gonna go into tips more in just a bit when we kind of go through that. So Kaitlyn, do you want to take it away and give your general experience?
I'll tell you guys.
Spill the tea.
Okay, so throughout college, I felt like I was always good at handling like stress and anxiety. I got very involved. My second year of school, my freshman year of college, I was always just hanging out with friends and stuff. Wasn't really paying much attention to school. Second year, got super involved, was busy all the time. My third year of college is when, for the first time ever in my life, I actually experienced real anxiety, real panic attacks, real anxiety attacks that would come out of nowhere, that I didn't understand why it was starting, that I didn't understand where it was coming from, because my whole life I just never thought I would be a person who had anxiety. So those first few months, it was the first few months of my junior year of college, literally. It really sucked. I felt like I was at the whims all the time of my anxiousness. I felt like my days in college, I was supposed to be having fun and I was craving fun and excitement in my life. Instead, I'm just sitting here all the time feeling so low from my anxiety. And the moments that I wasn't feeling anxious, I felt the need to just recharge and keep myself so calm and centered in case another anxiety attack happens again. So it kept me very on eggshells, and I felt very alone because I didn't know many people in college that dealt with the type of anxiety that I dealt with. I just had never had a community of people to talk to like that. So what I was going through, I felt very much like it wasn't supposed to be happening. Like I was just going through this alone, and I just felt it led to some very low, sad moments. But then I came through it, and I'm here now, and that will be in the tips section.
Yep.
And that will come later.
Yeah. With my experience with anxiety and with stress, just a little background. All of high school, I was the most chill person ever. The word stress, my friends would say it and they knew I'd make a joke out of it because I just never got stressed. And even with anxiety, I didn't know anything about anxiety. I just knew that some people would throw the word out, so it didn't even hold much weight to me until my freshman year of college. I went to a private Christian school for 1 year, transferred to a community college my sophomore year, and then went on to the University of Florida. Great school. And so my freshman year though, it was, yeah, go Gators. My freshman year, I went to this small Christian school, and I was so excited. I had the highest expectations built up for what this year was going to look like. It was going to be the school I was going to go to for all 4 years. And so with high expectations, you know, there's a reality. And so when I really showed up to campus and when I was really faced with the reality of what it looked like, I thought I'd meet my boyfriend there. I thought I'd meet my group of girlfriends. You're going to go to coffee, take notes together, study at the coffee shop together. I had all these built up ways that I could see my dream life going. And then every single day I saw that little fantasies turn into like struggles. So the fantasy of wanting a boyfriend there then turned into, because it's such a high stimulus environment where it's a small school, so you're seeing people all the time, you start to get anxious, like you need to be outside all the time. You need to be where all the action's at so that you can maybe catch a cute guy's eye or like catch a new friend group's eye. And so for me, that's kind of how my anxiousness took over my freshman year of college, where I would find myself crying at night in my dorm room when my roommate was away because I felt like I was just in the most uncontrollable struggle. I didn't know how to escape the struggle. I mean, it's just one of those crying nights where you're like frustrated on the inside. You don't know like what to do about it because there is nothing to do about it. And so thankfully, God gave me a real word, a real sentence that spoke for me for the rest of my life, which I will not share until we share the tips.
To be continued.
All the more reason to keep watching.
Yes. No, but that's like a great point you make about literally like just like feeling alone and not normal, because like for whatever reason, like when I started feeling my anxiety, at least, like I was like, this isn't normal, like this isn't how college is portrayed to be, this like image of college. And so you're like, oh, something's wrong with me. You start self-diagnosing yourself. You start thinking like, why am I not like functioning properly? Like this is really strange. Like it just doesn't make sense. You just don't feel normal. I mean, that's at least how I feel with my anxiety. And you feel then isolated, like no one else could possibly be going through this. And it's just like,
it's just hard. It's just hard. hard because it's really real. There's no immediate satisfaction to turn to. It's just something hard to be in.
To sit in the moment and just feel like that.
Exactly, because nobody wants to sit in negative emotions, and that's exactly why people will find ways to numb it in college, and that's not healthy either.
That's true.
Like, you literally you need to learn how to process it, which is why we're going to be talking about our tips. Let me see if
that's right.
That's right.
That's right.
We're gonna have great watch time on this video.
But before we go into our tips about like how we cope, I just briefly want us to say like about how often, as if I'm your doctor, how often do you feel anxious? Like in a given week, honestly. I guess it depends on the season of your life. But like for me personally, and if I'm being 100% honest, 5 out of the 7 days of my week, I feel pretty anxious and like overwhelmed. Could be the 5 weekdays, could be Monday through Friday, but like for me personally, even like that's just kind of putting like it in a box. But like even on the days that I'm feeling good, there'll still be a moment that I'll be like, oh, this is like kind of scary, or this is like something I don't want to think right now, and you know, it just comes up out of nowhere. So just like, I know you can't really put it in a box, but how often, or maybe what makes you the most anxious? Like what does it for you?
Yeah, you want to go first?
Yeah, so I would actually say, and this is an interesting question because I didn't realize how often it happens until you asked, but I would say that I at least deal with one anxious moment every day. Now, it doesn't feel that way because I've learned to cope with it, so I don't feel as big of a struggle.
Like the freaking out about it.
Yeah, I don't feel chained to it really as much as I used to. I feel free from it. So, but I actually do probably have an anxious moment at least every day. And the anxious moment, I struggled a lot with health related anxiety. I was always worried about my health. And so my anxious moments lately, you too. That was mine. It was just so weird because you would think, I never thought I would be like that, but anyway.
I know.
So my anxious moments.
Here we are.
This is our life.
This is it.
But yeah, so mine's health related. So lately, the little everyday anxiety I've been feeling, especially with COVID and stuff. So this might be good for a freshman right now, is that I get very like short of breath a lot of the time, and maybe feeling like I'm gasping for air for like 20 minutes. And I know it's not COVID, but it's this anxiety that I've had ever since before the pandemic and ever since before COVID. So a lot of the time it just gets triggered by little health related things. But like I said, I've learned to be free, so I've been having some good days even though I deal with it.
I don't feel the way you guys feel, which is cool because I know not everyone's gonna watch that and feel that kind of anxiety. For me, in relation to what I felt freshman year, that anxiety, it calmed down because I took a moment to go through long seasons of learning the difference between expectations and reality. So I made my peace with that. But in how often I feel anxiety, I would say once every 2 weeks I have a horrible night of extreme loneliness and sadness in which I battled with when I was younger, and it was of a thought would come if your sibling was out late at night, you don't know where he is or she is, or if my parents haven't called me, or I'm thinking of my grandmother who passed away a year ago. I will be in bed at night and all of a sudden the tears will come in, and it's just this very deep pain. And so it can turn into an anxiety thing where I've noticed my breathing gets heavier and stuff, and so that could be like once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. But for me, it's like when it comes, it's hard. It's deep. That's hard. Me. Yeah,
it's like a truck. It's funny because there are so many different types of anxiety. So I was just talking about like health anxiety or this anxiety, and like it's just interesting that so many people experience different anxieties because of maybe what is more important to them in their life. I also, another like form of anxiety that I didn't mention yet is like relationship anxiety, and this can be in the form of social anxiety, definitely. But like for me, if I'm dating someone, I'm constantly thinking like, am I dating the one? And then if I ask if I'm the one, then I'm going through and I'm like, well, what if this happens? I get stuck with this person, or like, you know, like it's not the one, and which is such a like a weird anxiety. Like I wouldn't have ever thought that I'd feel that.
It stems from fear of the future in one way or another.
Fear of the future. That's exactly because I'm like I hate the unknown. I like anything that I have no idea what's gonna happen and I can't control because I'm literally a control freak. And that's probably exactly what it is. I feel like anxiety, if I get stuck somewhere,
it's always from fear. With Kaitlyn, it's fear of, does she have the virus? Is her throat closing? With you or me, with relationships, am I gonna make the wrong decision? It's always stems from fear.
Right. And fear does not come from a good place at all. What's the verse? There's a verse.
Perfect love casts out fear.
No, that's one, but it's like Philippians. It's do not be anxious about anything, but cast all of your fears onto him.
Yes. I think do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, something.
Yes.
Yes.
I will find it and put it on the screen.
I feel like we're playing a Mad Lib game right now.
Okay, now we're gonna go into the little tip portion of this, which is always exciting because then, you know, you're like, I have anxiety, but what now? So, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so in the middle of my freshman year when I was desperately crying out to God, he doesn't always answer perfectly or on time. It may be like a week later, but this time it popped right in my head. And what he told me was, just because your life looks like this now is not what the rest of your life is going to look like. And so that saying healed me because I realized I'm a personality who seeks happiness all the time. My fear and my expectations, they get crushed, and so I get scared that the rest of my life is going to look like the way I feel in this very moment. And so when he said that to me, when he said just because it looks like this right now is not how the rest of your life is gonna, it gave me like this grace to realize, wait a second, so even if all year looks like this, like when I'm 21, when I'm 22, when it might not be like that anymore. I might get out of it. This might just be a season. And so that really helped me a lot because I gave myself grace then to just realize, you know what? Maybe this whole year is gonna look like this, but that doesn't mean that the rest of my life is gonna look like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because I love the song Seasons by Hillsong.
Yeah, I know.
Because literally, like, and I can link that below. Like, it's just an amazing song and it's so true. Like, you really do have seasons in your life. And just because you're in a bad moment now does not mean you're gonna stay in there. I mean, it could be for a little while longer, but you will end up out of this little, like, winter of your life, which is exactly what I tell myself. For me personally, and the reason I bring that up is because one way I deal with my anxiety is with music. It can be any music, but specifically I have like a Jesus is the Man's playlist. That's what I call it. It's like my favorite playlist. I have like all my favorite songs in there. And I also do have a little like motto / verse, and it's the verse, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so those are kind of the two things that will put my mind at ease when I kind of need to fill my brain with positivity and encouragement and not everything else that I'm thinking. So those are kind of my like intangible ways. And then tangible ways that I really try and calm myself down are like literally just take a breath. Do not let your feelings, because they're not, like we said, like feelings are not true. Like they just go on repeat in your head. And I have all these racing thoughts and intrusive thoughts that I don't want, and I get stuck on them. And if you just kind of are present and mindful of you in that moment, it just immediately brings you right back to the present. I'll also do this with walks, like going on a walk with, again, my headphones in. I'll be walking like in my feels, and it's just like a nice reset. Like whatever that looks like for you, I just like to create a little safe space, and then I'll normally either open my Bible or I'll open my Spotify Jesus is the Man's playlist. Like that's kind of just how I will calm myself. And every single time I experience anxiety, it ends at some point. Even if it's like an hour of anxiety, it does go away. Or if I go to sleep, if I wake up the next morning and like you're refreshed and it's like a new day. And so I just, when I'm in those anxious moments, I just tell myself this can't last forever. Like it's impossible. And that's just kind of how I calm down. And you know, self-care, you gotta just take a break for yourself. And just, I mean, for me, it's that worship playlist. I love my playlist, but that's just kind of how I generally will calm myself down if I'm having like a crazy anxious night or day or week, honestly. Yeah, but what about you?
Those are good. I'm gonna write some of those down.
Yeah.
Those are like really good, like little daily like things that you can, like practical that you can literally do in the moment. I guess for me then, I'll talk more about how when I first started dealing with anxiety, how I would literally go at it. Like, how did I go from feeling chained to anxiety, struggling with anxiety, to someone who maybe still has anxiety but walks free? And first thing I'll say is there is a lot of misunderstandings, I think, in when people talk about faith and anxiety, and when people talk about God healing anxiety, because it almost makes it seem like if you are an anxious person, then you don't have enough faith, or you don't believe in God enough if you have anxiety, or things like that, or just say this prayer and boom, like done, never have an anxiety attack again.
Right.
And God is the answer to anxiety, but that doesn't, it's not the way that people always paint it. It's not the way that it has nothing to do with guilt or shame, like you're not a good enough, you don't have enough faith, you're not strong enough, you don't this,
you're not praying hard enough, you don't have enough faith,
you're not a strong enough Christian.
And so because I was so frustrated at the time about those misconceptions about God and anxiety, I started to turn to things that weren't God for the answer to my anxiety. And there's nothing wrong with using outside sources like counseling. I did that, and they recommended medications and things like that. There's nothing really wrong with those things, but I didn't want to or know how to address the spiritual part of the problem in a practical way, because the answer is not always just to pray harder and be a better Christian and believe in God more, because I think we all know that's pretty hard. So the first thing that I would say is I dug hard, spent time with God, intentionally journaling to find the root of the problem. Because yeah, all anxiety, it is a chemical imbalance, but it has triggers and it has roots, and it sprung up when it did at this time in your life for a reason. So dig hard and find the root of the problem, and from the root you can start working then practically on how to be healed from the root of the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I would just say that's just one part of the process, and just do it with God and be patient with yourself. It's okay to still have anxiety. It's okay to still have anxiety attacks. Take it slow, but just be journaling, walking with God, asking the practical questions, and digging deep for what's really going on inside. And then healing will come, and it's not overnight. It's slow sometimes, and that's all right. It's a journey, just like everything in life.
Exactly.
True.
Perfectly said.
Amen.
Perfectly said.
That's good. One other thing I wanted to add to that was I did see a therapist for a little bit, and one thing that she told me that really stuck out, because it is a two-part process. You definitely need Jesus to help you in your journey, but it's also important to be talking it through with people. And exactly, people who like kind of understand what you're going through.
Yeah, heck yeah.
And this can be anyone.
They help expose the roots too.
Exactly,
They hear
talking it through.
Yeah, that's so true.
And like, it can be your mom, it could be your best friend, just like talking it through with someone. And for me, I remember my therapist saying, because I would tell her I have all these intrusive thoughts, she was like, you need to start thinking in the gray area more than the black or white. Like, because normally how anxiety is oh my gosh, like I'm gonna get COVID and die, or I'm not. But there's gray area. You could get COVID and live. You could not have COVID at all.
True.
Like you're going right to one extreme. Exactly. You could have a cold. You could have allergies. You could have an allergic reaction. Like
that's totally how my mind works. I'm such a gray thinker.
Yeah, that's exactly how you should. Like being in the gray. Because there's normally the extremes don't happen. Like normally it's just like in this middle area.
It's irrational.
Like it's irrational. Exactly. So gray thinking is just, it just calms your mind so much that there are other possibilities and alternatives and ways your life can go. So that was just kind of the other note I wanted to add in there, because that also really helps me.
That is so good. I feel like that's even gonna help Kaitlyn, because she has a black and white
thinking. Black and white thinking. Dude, that's literally what I struggle with, black and white thinking. It's so bad. And I feel like a lot of people do. So that's why I wanted to just drop in a little nugget. Yeah,
that was a good nugget. All right.
A good nugget. A good nugget. Okay, so let's wrap up this video with just real quick one thing in like a sentence or two of what you wish you could tell your freshman self going into college dealing with anxiety. If you can.
Okay.
For me, I would tell myself change is good and you should welcome it, but not feel like you need to control it. Like whatever change you go through, you're gonna go through it and become a better person, and you just need to let it happen and learn because of it. Good. Change is good. That would be my advice.
Nice. Kaitlyn, you?
The gears working.
I would say be patient with yourself and walk with a spirit of victory, not a spirit of defeat. Try to always look at things like it's not you're a victim of the world. Try to be, it's not always easy, but I just know that when I started dealing with anxiety, I took on a victim mindset a lot of the time, and like, oh, my life sucks because of this and that. Like, I just would recommend trying to work on it and be patient with yourself with that.
Yeah.
I would tell myself, can do the process with God. A lot of the times I would get mad at God, or I would vent, and I felt like he wasn't giving me the answers right away. But I realized at least when I was mad at him, I was talking to him, and then a few days later I was getting the answer back. And so in maturing as a person, I've realized I want to do everything with God, even if it's me being frustrated, even if it's me having no answer. I just want to still do it with God, because a life with God is so much better than me being alone crying at night with no answer. At least I know that God's listening to me cry. He can handle my anger, my frustration, and he will answer me. He will have the peace and the victory. He already has it for me. And so I would tell myself that it's just, in everything that you're already experiencing, just do it with God. Don't like, it's just very natural, it's very human of us to want to just be with God and do life with God when we have our crap together. But do the addiction with God, do the struggle with God, do the anxiety with God, rather than hiding those parts from him.
That's good. Wow, that was a good, strong way to close that.
All right.
Boom.
See you guys later.
Bye. Thank you guys so much for filming this video with me. I feel like we definitely...
I mean, you only paid $100.
That was good.
My dad would have said something like that.
Dad joke. Drop a dad joke. Sprinkle a dad joke in there. Okay, well, like I said, go check out their channel and the video we're gonna do on their channel. Subscribe to mine, and we will see you guys in my next video, and also in their video.
Yes.
That's right.
Love you guys. You got this.
You got this. College isn't that bad.
Yeah. Peace.
Bye.